In the heart of the night, this world will burn bright. We will set it alight. In the heart of the night.
Hello everyone, I'm Anthropomantic Fiend and I do horror-related things on the internet. Today I am talking about the movie Dire Wolf. And once again, I didn't think to look up when this thing came out. Maybe I'll put that under here somewhere, but movie kind of has a timeless feel anyway, which I'll get to in just a sec. But time period doesn't have a lot of bearing on this movie. But this movie is about I thought it was going to be a werewolf movie, and it wasn't, so I was a little disappointed, but turned out to be good anyway. So what it's about is this mutant dire wolf, which is like this, I think, like this very early, maybe even like prehistoric wolf breed. I don't know, I don't science. This breed of wolf that's huge and especially powerful and ferocious, but this scientist has created this mutant one in this lab that's up on a hill in this isolated small little town. And the wolf gets out and starts causing carnage, and a bunch of people have to come together to stop the dire wolf from killing more people. And it's just a great monster movie. I love it. Cinematography is beautiful, lots of great camera angles, great lighting. Looks professional, especially considering the budget that they're on. They absolutely knew what they were doing. Production design looks good, although a bit tacky, but that fits with the campy B-movie feel that they've got, as does the dialogue. There's a lot of one-liners and cheesiness in the dialogue that I feel was probably intentional and just them having fun. You can tell that they're not taking this too seriously, but seriously enough that it's still good. The effects are a highlight. They're not realistic, but I wasn't looking for realistic. They're just very gross. They're slimy and gooey and disgusting, and it's perfect. It almost has this feel of like the premise of like a 50s atomic age like B-movie, but with this sort of 80s gore and sleaze vibe to it, and like modern production values. And that's like the best of all the worlds for me. Great score. I mean, nothing to write home about or anything, but it feels epic. Like some of this music could have been in like a fantasy movie or like an action movie or something, and you can tell that it's not really an actual orchestra playing any of these pieces, but it's big and bombastic and energetic, and it sounds great. And there's lots of elements thrown into it, like you've got your basic orchestral sounds, but also electric guitar, drum machine, acoustic guitar, a bunch of cool sounds that sort of add to whatever mood they're trying to create in any given moment. And that sort of lack of genre to the score helps with sort of the almost periodless feel of the movie as well. Then there's the acting, which is cheesy. That may be in part due to the lines that they were given, but there's also just sort of this campiness to the performances, but also just sort of this subtlety to the humor that's wonderful. Case in point, the best character in the movie, Sheriff Parker. He's the sheriff of this little town in the movie, and he has this thing where everything has to be super precise and exactly how he needs it to be. Like, when we're first introduced to him, he's going to this diner that he goes to every morning at a specific time, and the waitress comes in and is like, "What can I get you?" And he's like, "You're new here, aren't you? Well, just so you know, I have my plate placed exactly here, and I like to eat around the clock. So the plate's a clock face, hash browns on this number, eggs on this number, coffee served right at 12 o'clock. Yeah, he's like that with everything, and even in like super extreme situations, and it's with everything. Like, he polishes his badge from a certain time to another certain time, and he will only drink coffee out of his blue cup, and if it's not in a blue cup, he will not drink the coffee, and his sign outside has to be straight, and it's just, his character would just be like this very normal, straight-ahead sheriff character, and yet he's just sort of got this almost like OCD, everything has to be this way, and he yet just does it so casually. Even in like super extreme situations, he'll like go out of his way to make sure everything is just so, because it cannot be any other way, and it's just really funny, and I loved it. Then there's his adopted son, Jim, who's also working for the local law enforcement, and his mom was shot by his real dad, so he's got this huge gun problem, and he's doing this sort of extreme gun control thing in this town, which is this huge hunting town. So there's a bunch of people who very against him and go hunting anyway, will vandalize the place, and that's part of his kind of story arc in a way. He's also got a little bit of a love triangle with this girl named Amber, who he really likes, and this one guy, Billy, who's like generic movie jerk guy. Don't know how else to put that. He's just big, tough, one-liner spouting, beer-drinking, womanizing person. That's his whole character, but it fit with the vibe the movie was going for, and I liked that. And then there's like two like redneck style characters in particular that are very against Jim, and they're the ones who are vandalizing the place and loitering in places they're not supposed to, and they are really funny. They're not like, they can be jerks, but they're not completely mean-spirited, and they're just kind of goofy and incompetent. They're like always cracking these jokes to each other that are really terrible, and all of the characters just have sort of these little quirks and campy bits to them that make them a lot of fun to watch. There's these two sort of investigator people who've been sent in by the government, who's funded the dire wolf experiment, to try to hunt it down and bring it in alive, and they're sort of conflicting with the other group who want to kill the dire wolf. And then there's also the scientist and this woman named Tina, who we're not quite sure why she's there, except she works at the lab. Well, the doctor obviously wants to keep his experiment alive, and Tina wants to keep it alive too, and she seems oddly sympathetic towards it, and we don't really find out why until later in the film. But that's most of the characters. The kills are fantastic. They're very gory and splattery in a very cheesy, garish red blood, fake guts everywhere, chest torn open kind of way, and it's the best kind of fun gore for a movie to have. It's not vomit-inducing. It's just kind of fun to watch. So, anything else to say before spoilers? The story, which I've kind of lined out for you, is really good. You've got all these sort of overarching plots that are, or not overarching, these intertwining plots that sort of come together in the middle, and everybody's got their own motives in it. It just feels like a really good story instead of just an excuse for kills, which sometimes you do just need an excuse for kills, but this one happens to come with a really good plot and really fun dialogue as well. Amber's character doesn't do all that much. She's kind of damsel in distress-y for a lot of the movie. I wish there had been a little bit more for her character to do, but it was alright for what it was. The end credits style feels like, I don't know how to put it, it's like that thing where it shows a bunch of shots of the character from the movie and then freeze frames on one and then shows their name. They do it at like the end and beginning of certain movies, and it has just a certain vibe to it. I hope you know what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, I meant to say, the design of the direwolf itself, while, you know, a little fakey, is really cool. It's there's like a tiny bit of CGI just for like the design of the outside of this big lab where the direwolf was designed, but the actual wolf itself is practical, and there's fur and claws and teeth, and it's all there and real, and it looks kind of cheesy but also great. I love when movie creatures have a lot of texture to them, and there's a lot of texture to the direwolf. And in the end credits, they credit somebody for having trained the direwolf. It doesn't say like direwolf effects done by, it says direwolf trained by, which I thought was kind of funny. Although I did kind of wonder, like, was it a guy in a suit the whole time, or what all the different effects they did for that were. I think it was a guy in a suit. It looks like a guy in a suit, but I love it. So yeah, this is a wonderful, campy, but still very solid monster movie. I highly recommend it for the Halloween season or any other season. If you like monster movies, if you like fun gore, if you like campy one-liners, you're probably gonna like this. I highly recommend it for fans of 50s B movies, for fans of 80s B movies, and anyone who likes kind of trashy monster movies, like me. So with all of that out of the way, the spoilers. The kills in this movie are glorious. Some of them get kind of samey. Most of them just consist of somebody looking off to the side and then the wolf climbing on top of them and ripping their chest open and their entrails go everywhere. But that doesn't really get old for me. But it's just sort of the personalities of the different person and what happens to them that make the kills fun. For example, the first one is this guy who's hunting right next to this no hunting sign, and he's found this innocent looking deer, and he's like, "Hey there, Bambi," and he pulls out his gun, and then of course the wolf climbs on top of him, and then that's our first moment of extreme gore, and you're like, yay, gore. And also that guy really had that coming to him. The next kill, I think, is that the next kill? No, there's one other kill. Billy dies. Billy had it coming to him as well. There weren't any real redeeming qualities to his character. My favorite kill in the movie is the fisherman. Billy's just died and Amber's running away, and she's found this very quiet, just very nice fisherman guy who's fishing quietly. He's got some like peaceful music playing on a radio next to him by this lake, and she just runs up with like blood splattered on her, screaming to him about, "Oh my god, Billy's just died," and he's just like, "Billy's just died? Oh my goodness." It's just like, there's this giant wolf and it's killed him and I don't know what to do. And he's just like, "Well, calm down now. In most cases, those animals are just as scared of us as we are of them." And then, of course, the wolf comes up behind him and bites off his hand and horribly mangles his body. And it's just like, poor guy, but also, oh my god, that's amazing. The characters you expect to die, and a bunch of main characters die as well. One of the investigators dies, Sheriff Parker dies, and like the last thing he's saying is, "I knew you'd finally come through for me, son. Here's my badge. I polish it from this time to this time," and then he dies. And the reason he dies is because his sign outside the sheriff's office was crooked again, and they're like, "The dire wolf's out there, don't go and get it." And he's like, okay, guys, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom now." And so he walks into the bathroom. Jim goes up and knocks on the door, and he's like, "Hey, dude, do you want to come in here and out here and get something to eat?" And there's silence. And so they finally open the door, and he's climbed out the window, and he's outside and adjusting the sign, because he's just like, "I just gotta do it. That sign was crooked. I had to adjust it." And then, of course, the direwolf gets him. So that was fun. There's those kills, and then there was the kill that I thought was coming that didn't, that really freaked me out, which was really fun, because there's this little kid who's playing like catch or some game with a ball with his mom, and like the ball rolls into the bushes and you have a POV shot of the wolf lurking in the bushes, and he goes over to get the ball and the direwolf's there, and he says, and I quote, "You're the biggest doggy I've ever seen." And then he runs over to see his mom and he's like, "Can we keep him?" Then when he runs back, he runs through the bushes trying to find the direwolf because he wants it as a pet. And they set it up with even like this big zoom-in close-up of the woman gasping for a moment because we think that the direwolf has got the kid. But no, it's just her being like, "Oh, thank goodness you've come back." And he's come back with the ball and he's like, "The doggy's gone." And it was tense because I didn't want the kid to die, and hilarious because he wanted the direwolf as a pet, and I loved that scene. The doctor's actual motives for creating the direwolf was to create like a super warrior. He's got the crazy mad doctor monologue thing going on because he's just like, the things that the Aztecs feared the most were the conquistadors' hunting dogs. So I've bred the DNA of a human with the direwolf to create a super warrior, and it's just like, oh my god, this is perfect. And then we find out why Tina is so attached to the direwolf, and it's because she literally has some of her DNA in this thing. She's provided like artificially fertilized eggs and everything, and yeah, human DNA in this wolf, and they're just like, wait a minute, so you're telling me that this wolf is your little boy? And she's like, not exactly, but we've got like this weird psychic connection thing. And they do, and like, when she shows up, the direwolf will stop killing people and sort of look at her and be like, oh no, what am I doing? Mom's here. At the very end of the movie, they've set up this trap for the direwolf, and she has to like lure it into the trap. And she does sort of the thing from the end of the second Friday the 13th movie where the Mama Voorhees with Jason thing, and she's just like, come here, that's my boy, and lures him into the trap, and it's very sad for her, and then the movie's over, and everybody's kind of resolved, except somebody's died, and one of the investigators is just like, okay, this wolf thing just killed one of my friends, I should have been there for him, and she literally just calls, like, the general that she's working for the government, and it's like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be helping you find Dr. Moreau's little experiment anymore, and then she throws her phone out the window, and it's wonderful. But yeah, everybody's sort of character arc either gets resolved or they get horribly mutilated by the direwolf, and it's a wonderful movie. So yeah, like I said, wonderful, crazy, fun monster movie. I highly recommend you check this thing out. It's just a lot of fun to watch. Thank you for checking my channel out. I hope I will see more of you around here another time. Hopefully see you next time. Bye.